The millionaire is terrified to realize his wife sabotaged his car. A hidden truth emerges. Rain pounded against the grand windows of Thomas Bennett's coastal mansion, each drop echoing the turmoil churning in his chest. The night was alive with the storm's fury, lighting flashes illuminating the shadows that seemed to cling to every corner of his opulent home. But it was not the storm outside that chilled him to the bone. It was the realization that everything, his luxurious life, his beloved Isabelle, might be a facade crumbling like the cliffs that loomed beyond his property. Just days ago, he'd nearly died in that horrific car crash. The memory raced back to him, metal twisting, glass shattering, air filled with the acrid scent of smoke. He remembered waking up in the hospital, confusion mingled with pain, only to find Isabelle at his bedside, the image of a devoted wife. But what if she was not who she appeared to be? What if she had turned his engine into a ticking time bomb? He felt the weight of that question crush him, tightness coiling in his chest. He stumbled into the family office, a room decorated with marble surfaces and rich leather, but it felt as cold as his dawning suspicion. Flipping through books and notepads, he searched for something, anything, that could explain his wife's curious behavior in the past few months. Why had she become distant? Her laughter rarely heard over the sound of her silken dresses whispering through their home. Just then a glint of brass caught his eye. He approached a mahogany desk, running his fingertips along its surface, hesitant. He pulled at a hidden drawer, its smooth motion almost taunting him. Inside, documents spilled forth like the secrets they held. A stack of old bills, letters with unfamiliar names, and a family photo from a time long before he entered Isabelle's life. His heart raced as he fanned out the papers, each revealing a past filled with faces he did not recognize. Was that her brother? Had she ever mentioned siblings? A sudden roar of thunder shook the house, sending a shiver through him. Was this her way of warning him away from the truth? More chilling revelations swirled in his mind. Whispered conversations he couldn't quite hear. Strange guests arriving just as quickly as they left. What had he overlooked? Thomas felt fear seep into his bones. Could Isabelle, the woman who had shared champagne toasts on their yacht, be capable of such betrayal? Just then, his phone buzzed violently on the desk, its screen lighting up with a message that made his pulse quicken further. "I know what she's hiding. Meet me where the waves crash." A lump formed in his throat. Was it worth risking everything he had? Did he dare confront her, shatter the picture-perfect illusion, and step into the dark abyss of unknown secrets? As rain battered against the mansion dramatically, Thomas stood frozen, gripped by uncertainty. Every instinct screamed at him to dig deeper, but with each tick of the clock, he felt the heavy burden of his wealth, the very thing that isolated him from the truth he now craved. Hey, before we continue with this incredible story, I need to give you an important warning. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube removed their subscriptions without notice. Just take a quick look at the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any exclusive content coming up. And since you're here, smash that like button because it really helps me with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who is part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's interact. The storm raged on, the furious wind howling around Thomas. Rain lashed against the walls, but he barely noticed. The message on his phone felt like a jolt of electricity, sparking tension in his veins. "Meet me where the waves crash." Who could it be? What could they know? Thomas gripped the desk, heart racing. He glanced toward the grand staircase, the dark wood twisting into shadows. Isabelle was upstairs, her presence a weight. He could feel in the air. The thought of confronting her gnawed at his insides. The temptation to flee was overpowering. He imagined driving away, leaving everything behind, his mansion, his wealth, Isabelle. But the thrill of the unknown pulled at him, so he steeled himself and decided to go. Time was ticking. He grabbed his coat, the fabric heavy with dread, and rushed out into the storm. The wind whipped across his face, biting cold, as he sprinted toward the cliffs, each step filled with conflicting emotions. Did he really want answers? Did he want to risk everything on some whispered secrets? The beach was a chaos of crashing waves and roiling water, the sky a dark canvas, smeared with flashes of lightning. As he approached the rocks, a figure emerged from the shadows, soaked and trembling. The light from a distant flash illuminated a face he recognized. Aaron, his best friend. But there was something different about him, an urgency in his stance that felt wrong. "Tom, we need to talk," Aaron shouted over the roar of the storm. The way he said it sent a chill through Thomas's bones. "It's about Isabelle." "What do you know?" Thomas crossed the distance between them, anger boiling beneath the surface. "I have enough problems without you adding to them." Aaron hesitated, glancing nervously at the waves. "You have to listen to me," he said, breath trembling. "It's about her past, her real past. She didn't just come from nowhere." "What do you mean?" Confusion twisted Thomas's stomach. "She's my wife. I've loved her. I thought I knew her. I found something I shouldn't have." Aaron's voice dropped to a whisper. "There are connections, Tom. Dark ones." Thomas's heart raced. "What connections? Speak clearly, Aaron." "A debt," he said, eyes wide. "Isabelle's family owed money to some dangerous people. She was forced to change her identity. The crash. It was no accident. She didn't want it to happen, but she was involved." The words hit Thomas like a slap. All those moments with Isabelle flashed through his mind. Laughter over dinner, their long walks on the beach. How could they all mean something so twisted? "Aaron, you're wrong," he shouted, voice cracking. "She loves me." The wind howled back, mocking his belief. "Does she? Or is this some elaborate scheme to get your wealth or silence you for what she did?" He felt the world narrowing down, the cliffs threatening to swallow him whole. All the questions he had pushed aside now surged forward like a tidal wave. "There's worse," Aaron continued, his voice almost lost in the storm. "She has a brother. A dangerous one. He might come for you, for both of you. You need to get out." Thomas's mind spun. The weight of betrayal crushed him, and all he could see were shadows of the woman he loved, the life they shared, and all the hidden truths. He couldn't breathe. "Where is she?" he asked, voice shaking. Before Aaron could answer, a loud crash resounded from above, followed by a crack of lightning that illuminated a figure standing at the edge of the cliff, a woman with a familiar silhouette. Isabelle. She was soaked, eyes blazing with a calmness that sent ice through Thomas's veins. "You shouldn't have come here, Thomas," she began, but her voice was drowned out by the storm, shadows dancing around her as if they were alive. In that moment, Thomas realized everything he thought he knew was about to unravel. What was she really hiding? And was it too late to escape the nightmare closing in around him? The moment froze. Thomas's heart thundered as Isabelle stood there, drenched and glowing with an intensity that felt otherworldly. "You shouldn't have come here, Thomas." Her voice sliced through the chaos, steady, yet laced with a warning. "Aaron says you're hiding something," Thomas shouted back, still reeling. The wind howled, drowning out the rising tide of panic in his chest. "What's going on? Is it true? Are you involved in all this?" For a heartbeat, her expression flickered. Something raw broke through her composed facade. "You don't understand," she began, but her voice faded as a crack of thunder shook the ground beneath them. Abruptly, she turned, scanning the turbulent ocean as if some unseen force was pulling her toward it. Thomas seized the moment, moving closer, desperate for answers. "You owe me that much, Isabelle. You told me we could trust each other." But before she could respond, a sudden flash lit up the sky, revealing not just Isabelle, but a twisted form lumbering just behind her, a man shadowy and menacing. Thomas's blood ran cold. "Isabelle who?" The words died on his lips as the man stepped into view, cloaked in darkness and malice. It was then he recognized the piercing gaze, The sharp jaw, her brother, the missing piece of the puzzle. His heart raced. "You," Thomas shouted, fist clenching instinctively. "What are you doing here?" The brother smirked, a deceptive innocence masking something darker. "Always the good husband, huh? How naive." Isabelle's eyes widened. "No, you shouldn't be here." But it was too late. With a sudden, bone-chilling laugh, the brother took a step forward, a glimmer of something metallic in his hand. "You think you know everything? There's more to this than you realize." Before Thomas could process the threat, a deafening crash echoed as water surged violently over the rocks, climbing dangerously high. Everything blurred. Water, wind, fear. In a flash, the brother lunged. "You're standing in my way." The knife gleamed like lightning, poised to strike. "No!" Thomas hurled himself at Isabelle, instinctively pushing her out of the way just as the blade sliced through the air. But the unexpected twist came not from the strike, but from the ground itself. The cliffs trembled ominously, cracking like an ancient beast awoken from slumber. A deafening roar erupted from the ocean, waves crashing with unprecedented rage, as the cliffside began to crumble. Isabelle, her fear escalating, screamed Thomas's name. In that moment, as rubble and rain cascaded around them, the world flipped. The ground gave way, swallowing shadows and secrets alike. With a sickening lurch, Thomas lost his footing, but not before catching a glimpse of his wife's terrified face. "Thomas!" Her voice rang, pure desperation. Then darkness. A swirling vortex of chaos enveloped him as he fell, the world above fading into an abyss. And just like that, everything shattered. When the dust cleared, they would all be different. Relationships would fracture, secrets would maim, and trust would be a distant memory. But one question loomed larger than the storm on that night. Would anything ever be the same again? The darkness swirled around Thomas as he fell, weightless and terrified. There was nothing but the sound of rushing water, a cacophony drowning out all his thoughts. The world above faded, but the memory of Isabelle's panic etched itself deep in his heart. It wouldn't end like this. He fought against the fear, pushing upward through the void, desperate to reach the light, the truth. But suddenly, he landed hard. The ground shook beneath him, and he gasped, his lungs burning. He rolled over, trying to gain his bearings. The storm still roared above, the thunder crashing a formidable backdrop to his confusion. "No, Isabelle!" Scrambled to his feet, shaking water from his hair, but the landscape had changed. He stood at the edge of the cliff, but it looked different now. The horizon loomed ominously, shadows sharper, shapes emerging from the chaos. He turned, searching for her, his pulse racing. "Thomas!" a voice called. Not Isabelle. His heart sank. It was Aaron, drenched and fighting against the wind. "Aaron, where's Isabelle?" Panic laced his voice. "She's—" But before Aaron could finish, the ground continued to tremble, and Thomas's gaze flickered behind him. A figure emerged from the mist, and as the shadows cleared, his stomach dropped. It was Isabelle, but she was different. No longer frightened, she stood with an unexpected calmness, eyes piercing through the chaos like emerald blades. "What did you do, Isabelle?" Thomas shouted, stepping forward, desperation gripping him. "This can't be happening." Aaron shook his head frantically, stepping in front of Thomas. "No, Tom, listen. You don't know." Isabelle raised her hand, silencing them both. "Stop. You need to hear the truth." Her voice resonated, firm and unwavering. "What truth?" Thomas's voice was raw as fear twisted inside him. She took a deep breath, her eyes flickering between the two men. "I didn't just run away, Thomas. I had to protect you." "Protect me from what? From who?" The urgency in his words crackled like static in the air. "The people I was hiding from. They're not just after me. They want you too. My brother, he's not just a debt collector. He's part of something bigger." "What bigger?" Thomas felt every word punctured deep. As she spoke, the wind died down, as if the storm listened, hanging on to her every word. "He leads a network, a dangerous one. My family was caught up in money laundering, drug trades. I took a new identity to escape it. But they're not done with us. A network? The weight of her confession crashed over him like a wave. Why didn't you tell me? I was trying to keep you safe, she cried, the tension in the air thickening. Another rumble from the cliff, followed by a distant roar. Thomas could hardly process it, but a sense of finality hovered like the storm clouds above. This changes everything, he murmured, feeling the cracks in their relationship widen as the truth unfolded. But as Isabelle stepped closer, their eyes locked. He noticed something unusual behind her, a flicker of movement. The shadow shifted once more. It was her brother lurking at the edge of the cliff, but right beside him was a woman Thomas recognized, another figure splashed across memories he had buried. Who is she? Thomas gasped, recognizing Ava, his childhood friend, an innocent face now twisted in a menacing smirk. Isabelle's face dropped, a cold fury rising within her. No, she shouldn't be here. Ava stepped forward, a glint of satisfaction in her eyes. Did you really think you could escape us, Isabelle? You and your precious husband? Thomas's mind raced. Everything he thought he knew was flipping upside down. What's going on? That's not all, Tom, Ava teased, her voice dripping with malice. You might want to dig a little deeper into those family photos. His pulse quickened, dread curling in his gut. What did she mean? What else was hidden? Beneath the surface? The ground beneath them shifted again, and suddenly the edge of the cliff crumbled. Isabelle lunged toward him, her hand outstretched. Thomas, no! As the soil fell away, a sudden realization dawned. Could it be that everything around him was a carefully crafted lie? In a flurry of blurring images, Thomas felt himself going down again, the dark abyss waiting. But this time, a question echoed hauntingly in his mind. What if the betrayal ran deeper than he ever imagined? And in that moment of uncertainty, all he could think was trust ever real? The darkness swirled around Thomas as he fell, weightless and terrified. There was nothing but the sound of rushing water, a cacophony, drowning out all his thoughts. The world above faded, but the memory of Isabelle's panic etched itself deep in his heart. It wouldn't end like this. He fought against the fear, pushing upward through the void, desperate to reach the light, the truth. But suddenly, he landed hard. The ground shook beneath him, and he gasped, his lungs burning. He rolled over trying to gain his bearings. The storm still roared above, the thunder crashing a formidable backdrop to his confusion. No! Isabelle! He scrambled to his feet, shaking water from his hair, but the landscape had changed. He stood at the edge of a cliff, but it looked different now. The horizon loomed ominously, shadows sharper, shapes emerging. From the chaos. He turned, searching for her, his pulse racing. Thomas, a voice called. Not Isabelle. His heart sank. It was Aaron, drenched in fighting against the wind. Aaron, where's Isabelle? Panic laced his voice. But before Aaron could finish, the ground continued to tremble, and Thomas's gaze flickered behind him. A figure emerged from the mist, and as the shadows cleared, his stomach dropped. It was Isabelle, but she was different. No longer frightened. She stood with an unexpected calmness, eyes piercing through the chaos like emerald blades. What did you do, Isabelle? Thomas shouted, stepping forward, desperation gripping him. Isabelle raised her hand, silencing them both. Stop. You need to hear the truth. Her voice resonated, firm and unwavering. What truth? Thomas's voice was raw as fear twisted inside him. She took a deep breath, her eyes flickering between the two men. I didn't just run away, Thomas. I had to protect you. Protect me from what? From who? The urgency in his words crackled like static in the air. The people I was hiding from, they're not just after me. They want you too. My brother. He's not just a debt collector. He's part of something bigger. What bigger? Thomas felt every word punctured deep. As she spoke, the wind died down, as if the storm listened, hanging on to her every word. He leads a network, a dangerous one. My family was caught up in money laundering and drug trades. I took a new identity to escape it, but they're not done with us. A network? The weight of her confession crashed over him like a wave. Why didn't you tell me? I was trying to keep you safe, she cried, the tension in the air thickening. Another rumble from the cliff, followed by a distant roar. Thomas could hardly process it, but a sense of finality hovered like the storm clouds above. This changes everything, he murmured, feeling the cracks in their relationship widen as the truth unfolded. But just as Isabelle stepped closer, their eyes locked, he noticed something unusual behind her, a flicker of movement. The shadows shifted once more. It was her brother, lurking at the edge of the cliff, but right beside him was a woman Thomas recognized. Another figure splashed across memories he had buried. Who is she? Thomas gasped, recognizing Ava, his childhood friend, an innocent face now twisted in a menacing smirk. Isabelle's face dropped, a cold fury rising within her. No, she shouldn't be here. Ava stepped forward, a glint of satisfaction in her eyes. Did you really think you could escape us, Isabelle? You and your precious husband? Thomas's mind raced. Everything he thought he knew was flipping upside down. What's going on? That's not all, Tom, Ava teased, her voice dripping with malice. You might want to dig a little deeper into those family photos. His pulse quickened, dread curling in his gut. What did she mean? What else was hidden beneath the surface? The ground beneath them shifted again, and suddenly, the edge of the cliff crumbled. Isabelle lunged toward him, her hand outstretched. Thomas, no! As the soil fell away, a sudden realization dawned. Could it be that everything around him was a carefully crafted lie? In a flurry of blurring images, Thomas felt himself going down again, but this time, a piercing scream cut through the chaos. It was Aaron. Thomas, no! Before he could grasp the enormity of the moment, the clouds split open. A beam of blinding light enveloped him, lifting him upward, separating him from the chaos below. He felt weightless, suspended in shock as the figures on the cliff screamed against the wind. Where are you taking me? He cried, but only silence answered. Then a voice reverberated around him, commanding and chilling. You can't run from your fate, Thomas. It was deep and familiar. As he squinted against the light, recognition dawned, his breath catching in disbelief. It was his estranged father, the man he had thought dead for years, a facade of betrayal unraveling like a thread. What? How? The question hung in the air, heavy and unresolved. Because everything is connected, son, and you were never meant to find out. The world around him twisted. Once again, and the storm faded into a whisper. It was a single truth echoing in the silence, rocking him to the core. Was any of this real? Or was he trapped in an even larger scheme? The shadows shifted once again, leaving Thomas suspended between two worlds. And as the storms of betrayal and secrets brewed both above and below, one question loomed larger than ever. Would he ever know who to trust? The light surrounding Thomas faded slowly, pulling him back into the chaotic storm. He thrummed with confusion and dread as he stood on the edge of the cliff, the roiling sea below reflecting his turmoil. Isabelle's calm, fierce eyes bore into him like emerald daggers, yet the fear slowly crept back in. The ground was unsteady, teetering on the edge of collapse, and if he didn't find a way out soon, they'd all be swallowed by the very secrets that had driven them there. Thomas, listen to me, Isabelle urged, stepping closer, fingers trembling as she reached for him. Just then, the ground shook violently, a jagged crack spiderwebbing between them. Dust and rocks slipped away, and Thomas stumbled, barely holding steady. His heart raced. What do you know? Before Isabelle could reply, a piercing scream ripped through the storm, splintering the tension like glass. Ava, no! It was Aaron. Thomas turned, just in time to see Ava lunging forward, her face twisted in rage, flinging something toward Isabelle. A flash of metal glinted in the dim light, Thomas's instincts kicked in, and he shoved Isabelle aside with all his strength. "Look out!" he shouted. The knife missed her by inches, and in that moment, Thomas lunged for Ava, fueled by a fury he didn't know he had. But she was quicker, darting to the side, and he lost his grip, only to feel a violent shove from behind. Before he could react, he was falling again. The roar of the ocean swallowed him as he fell into the darkness below, everything spinning. Was this it? His breath caught in his throat, heart thudding painfully. Had he lost everything? Suddenly, he landed, not in water, but on solid ground. He gasped for air, scrambling to his feet, blinking the darkness away. But something felt off. The air was thick, damp, and echoed with whispers. All around him, shadows loomed, flickering as if they were alive. "Thomas!" A voice called, eerily familiar. "What the?" He spun around, panic flooding him. Emerging from the shadows was not Isabelle, but an older woman with strikingly familiar features. Pain and recognition coursed through him. "Mom?" "Thomas, I've been waiting for you." Her eyes shone, deep sorrow mixed with a strange resolve. His heart raced. How could this be? "But you're dead? You thought I was dead?" She smirked, her voice low and shrouded in an unnatural calm. Memories flashed. All the family stories he thought were folklore suddenly felt like cruel fabrications. "I saw your grave." "That was a cover," she said, stepping closer, her presence turning heavy with unspoken truths. "You can't just run from who you are, Thomas. You're deeper into this than you realize." "What do you mean?" Confusion roiled in his stomach. She was supposed to be gone, but now, why are you here? Your father and I didn't just disappear. We were part of something bigger, more than you know. As she spoke, the shadows shifted, coiling around him, edging nearer. Danger is lurking. Isabelle is not who you think she is, and the tie's keeping. "You, alive, are about to snap." Before he could respond, a deafening crack echoed above. Instinctively, he looked up, and what he saw sent a jolt of terror through him. The cliff was collapsing, chunks of earth plummeting toward him. "Run!" his mother shouted, urgency threading through her voice. But in that moment, everything shattered once again. The ground split open beneath him, and as he teetered on the brink, he caught sight of Isabelle and Aaron struggling in the distance, her eyes wide with fear. "Thomas, come back!" Isabelle's voice sliced through the chaos, desperate, echoing. He felt torn, suspended between worlds, caught between the lies of his past and the uncertainty of his present. With one last glance at his mother, her face twisted in a mix of pride and sorrow, Thomas's heart stopped. "Isabelle!" he screamed, reaching for her as the cliff crumbled below him. "Is this really over? Or is it just beginning?" And just then, everything went black. The ground beneath Thomas crumbled, and he felt himself plunging into darkness once again. A swirling void surrounded him, drowning out his thoughts. As he fell, disbelief twisted in his gut. This can't be how it ends. He landed abruptly, gasping. The air was thick, heavy. He blinked against the gloom and stood up, staring into the shadows surrounding him. This time, something felt different, almost suffocating. "Isabelle," he called out. Panic stinging his voice, he whirled around, searching for any sign of her. But the shadows began to close in, twisting into dark shapes that whispered his name. "Thomas." The voice was soft, sickly familiar. He froze, the chill racing up his spine, as the figure emerged, shrouded in darkness. It was his mother, her eyes glinting with a strange light. But something was off, an unnatural aura cloaking her like fog. "Mom, don't be afraid." She stepped closer. But something flickered in her expression, a shadow moving beneath the surface. "You've wanted the truth, haven't you?" "What truth?" he demanded. But his voice trembled. "It's all connected, Tom. Your father, he's not who you think he is." "What are you talking about?" His heart raced, fear pooling in his stomach. "What do you mean?" She sighed, deep and heavy, as if carrying the weight of years. Your father's name isn't Bennett. He had to change it when we went on the run. It's much deeper than you realize. They're coming for you both. The ground trembled beneath him, and he barely managed to keep his footing. What does that even mean? Who's coming for us? Why didn't you ever tell me this? Because I thought I could keep you safe, she replied, sorrow etched into her features. But just then, the world flipped. The shadows around them shifted again, coiling like snakes. Thomas stepped back, bewildered. What's happening? Suddenly a blinding light burst through the darkness, illuminating his surroundings as thunder roared overhead. A sharp pain shot through his chest. He gasped, looking down, his shirt soaked in crimson. What? He staggered back, his heart racing. Tom, no! Isabelle's voice rang out, her silhouette emerging in the chaos. But as she approached, her expression shifted. You have to listen to me. What is happening? He cried, panic coursing through him. Then he heard it, scuffling behind him, hurried breathing. Someone else was coming. A flash of movement, and he turned, staring into the faces of not just Isabelle, but Ava and Aaron too. They emerged from the shadows, their faces twisted with anger and fear. Thomas, Aaron shouted, rushing forward. You need to get away from her. She's not who she claims. Stop, Isabelle yelled. But the gravity of the situation pulled everyone closer, the energy electric and thick. I don't care, Thomas spat, reeling from the betrayal. Tell me now, what's going on? Ava stepped forward, a twisted smile on her lips. You really don't get it, do you? You have everything you need right in front of you. It's all about the legacy. What legacy? Thomas felt the ground shifting again, everything tilting dangerously. And then it hit him. A sudden, icy realization gripped him. Wait, my father. He knew you. Yes, Ava replied, her voice sharp, echoing in the growing chaos. You were never supposed to find out. All of us are connected by blood, Thomas. You're part of something far more twisted. He staggered back, everything he believed unraveling before his eyes. What do you mean? The Bennett name? A cover for the true legacy, a criminal empire. And you're the heir. Before he could take in her words, another crash shook the ground beneath them. The cliff edge began to crumble more rapidly, pulling him dangerously close to the precipice. Isabelle, his voice trembled, uncertain to clouding every thought. What have you been hiding? Her face grew pale, and in that moment of silence, Thomas saw it. A flicker of regret, something hidden beneath her veneer of calm. I did it to protect you. I didn't want you to be involved. But before he could process her confession, the shadows darkened again, swallowing them whole. Run, Aaron shouted. We have to go. And just then, as the ground gave way, Thomas felt another sharp pain. The light flickered, and darkness descended over him, along with the devastating truth of everything he had ever known. What if his loyalty meant nothing, and betrayal was etched in blood? The ground gave way beneath Thomas, dragging him back into darkness. The world spun wildly as he fell again, fear coursing through him like a jolt of electricity. The storm roared above, its fury drowning out everything but the echo of his thoughts. This can't end this way. Suddenly, he hit something soft, but solid, a patch of damp earth, maybe. He gasped, jerking upright to find himself surrounded by shadows. No longer on the cliff, he stood in a darkened space that felt almost alive. The air was thick with an unsettling energy, whispering secrets he couldn't comprehend. Thomas, a voice pierced the gloom. His heart raced as he turned, recognizing the tone but not the owner. Mom? The figure stepped closer. It was her, dressed in worn clothes, as if she had just emerged from a forgotten memory. I've been waiting for you, she said, voice smooth, yet layered with 1,000 emotions. Where? How are you here? I thought you were dead? You believe that? Her smile twisted into something darker. Of course your father would have a grave. It was part of the cover. Confusion gripped him. What cover? What are you talking about? Everything, Thomas. You're tangled in it more than you know. His pulse quickened. Before he could respond, a sudden tremor surged through the ground, pulling him to the side. He barely steadied himself. Mom, I don't have time for riddles. But she pressed on, her gaze unwavering. You're in danger. They won't stop coming for you. They want to erase the Bennett name for good. The shadows around him quivered, as if released by her words. Who? You mean Isabelle's family? No. She shook her head, eyes darkening. Worse, people who control everything from the shadows. They know you're vulnerable now. Panic surged as the truth crashed over him. Isabelle? She didn't tell me. She should have trusted me. Trust is a fragile thing. Her voice dropped, urgency bubbling beneath her calm surface. But it's not just about her. Before she could say more, the ground trembled again, leaving cracks spreading outward like a spiderweb. He turned to run, but felt her hand grasp his arm. You can't leave yet. You need to understand the cost of your choices. What choices? But then, from the darkness, a figure loomed. Thomas squinted into the shadows and suddenly froze. It was Ava, but she was different now, eyes wild with a hungry purpose, a knife glinting in her hand. Surprised, Thomas? Did you really think I'd let you walk away? Her voice dripped with malice. Stay back. You stumbled back, attempting to shield himself. But then his mother stepped forward, an unexpected flash of terror crossing her features. Ava, no! Don't be too surprised, Thomas. Your family's secrets are deep, and they plunge into more than you can imagine. Jerking his gaze between Ava and his mother, he felt betrayal claw at him. What are you two involved in? Before anyone could answer, a deafening roar rang out, the ground cracking apart. The cliff resonated beneath their feet, sending everyone into chaos. Thomas was thrown to the ground, losing sight of his mother. Run! Isabelle's voice echoed through the confusion, urgency slicing through the chaos, but Thomas felt paralyzed. Just then, a blinding light burst forth from the fissures in the ground. A figure surged through, emerging from the light. Thomas gasped as he recognized the face. His father, alive. But the expression on his face was not of reunion. It was pure rage. Thomas, you don't know what you're a part of, his father shouted, taking a step closer. Confusion turned to shock. What? Dad, why? But before his question could hang in the air, Ava lunged forward, and the knife glinted dangerously as she swung it toward Thomas. The world around him blurred. In a heartbeat, his father stepped in front of Ava, the blade plunging deep into him instead. No, Thomas yelled, the anguish ripping through him like the force of a crushing wave. As his father fell, the light surrounding them flickered. All the shadows twisted in a chaotic dance, replacing everything Thomas thought he understood with nothing but noise and confusion. Your father has been lying to you all along, Ava sneered, darkness shaking beneath her. The truth is about to set you free, or destroy you. And in that moment, as his world disintegrated, a chilling thought gripped Thomas. What if the legacy was always meant for him? Was he trapped in a web spun by people he thought he could trust? As chaos unfolded, Thomas knew one thing. To survive, he needed to uncover what had been buried for so long. Would he face the truth, or would it consume him? Thomas stumbled back as his father's body slumped to the ground, horror ripping through him like a knife. No, Dad, he gasped, falling to his knees, disbelief consuming him. The dark void around him twisted, threatening to swallow him whole. Was this the cost of seeking the truth? Get away from him, Isabelle screamed, rushing forward. But Aaron shoved her back. No, we can't be caught in this. Ava lurked closer, the knife gleaming wickedly in her hands, excitement dancing in her eyes. Do you see now? Your father was a pawn, just like you, Thomas. This family, it's a cage. No, he felt the words burn in his throat. You've lied to me, all of you. The shadows whispered, closing in like a storm. He could barely think through the chaos. Each breath was heavy, thick with despair. Help him! Someone help! His voice was barely louder than a whisper. But then something changed. A flicker of movement caught his eye. From behind his father's body emerged another figure, a woman. The light changed, shadows dancing as she stepped into view, and Thomas's heart raced at the recognition. It was his mother, but she was different now, radiating a power he had never seen before. "Mom?" He strained to comprehend. "Thomas," she said, voice steady, almost ethereal. "You need to understand. You've been living a lie, but it's time to unveil the truth." His world spun again. "What truth?" "Your father's death wasn't an accident. It was a sacrifice," she replied, moving closer, urgency lacing her voice. "Underneath all this chaos, he was protecting you, but it was never enough." Ava's laughter echoed ominously. "Protecting him? From what? What do you know?" The tension thickened, turning suffocating. "From the family bonds that tie us together, in blood and guilt." His mother's voice rang out, carrying the weight of secrets she'd buried for years. "Wait, what?" Thomas felt his breath quicken. "Are you saying we're connected?" "More than you realize, Thomas. Your destiny is deeper than the Bennett facade," she explained, each word a dagger into his psyche. Before he could react, a sudden roar rang out, slicing through the air. An explosion rocked the ground beneath their feet, sending shockwaves through Thomas's body. "Get down!" he yelled, instinct kicking in. But it wasn't just the cliff crumbling. The shadows erupted, exploding in a ring of fire, illuminating the darkened landscape in a hellish glow. "Run!" Isabelle's voice pierced the chaos. "Your mother was never supposed to be here." Ava shrieked, her face twisting in rage. "You'll never escape the family legacy, no more than your father did." As the fire surged, he felt an icy grip on his soul. "What do you mean?" Ava stepped closer, a manic gleam in her eyes. "Your mother is the leader of the very network you are now part of. The true power lies in her hands, not your father's. He was just another pawn, Thomas. She was the queen." Shock hit him like a freight train. Everything turned inside out. "Mom, what is she talking about?" He turned, desperation flooding him. But just as she opened her mouth to reply, the ground buckled beneath him. The cliff began to collapse, and he barely managed to grab hold of a jagged rock. Everything he knew felt ripped away. "Thomas!" Isabelle shouted, reaching for him in a desperate grasp. But the shadows roared, and he had to make a choice. As the edge crumbled away, Thomas's mind raced. Was he ready to embrace this new reality? Or would he falter, watching the pieces of his life fall to ruin? And just as his fingers strained against the rock, the world spun again, revealing a shocking truth that shook the ground beneath him. Everything he knew about love, family, trust, had just unraveled. Could he even trust his own mother? Or were they all just players in a game far beyond his control? As the ground crumbled beneath Thomas's feet, he felt the weight of betrayal heavy in his chest. With Ava sneering in the shadows and the roaring chaos surrounding them, Thomas locked eyes with his mother, who stood immovable and radiant amidst the madness. "You think I'm a villain, Thomas? After all I sacrificed," she implored, desperation threading through her voice. "Everything I knew was a lie," he shouted, panic igniting. "You and my father, you used me." Suddenly, another thunderous crack echoed, drawing him back to the shattering cliff. The abyss below beckoned, a harbinger of secrets and loss. In that instant, he knew he had to make a choice: shatter the shroud of his past, or let it swallow him whole. "Your father thought he could keep you safe by dying," his mother pressed, stepping forward. "You're not just a Bennett. You're a Hawthorne by blood. Our family is intertwined with shadows, criminal enterprises that won't let you go. I had to protect you." "You should have trusted me," he cried, the betrayal stinging deeper than the cold, wet air. "I loved you both. Love is a construct, Tommy." Ava's voice sliced through the thunder. "You're standing in the middle of a legacy steeped in deception." With a sharp inhale, Thomas turned to Isabelle, who watched, horror-struck, yet with fierce resolve. "Isabelle, but before he could finish, the ground quaked once more, a rushing tide pulling them toward the edge. Time slowed as he felt her warmth slip through his fingers. "No," he shouted, reaching for her. "Hold on, Thomas," Isabelle screamed. But Ava lunged, knives glimmering, striking with fatal intention. Everything exploded. The earth split apart, and in that moment, Thomas saw the path he had to take. He grabbed Isabelle's hand, pulling her close. "We can stop this. Together." His grip was firm, hope surging forth like adrenaline. Ava stumbled, thrown back by the force of the collapsing ground, and Thomas fed off the chaos, his instincts kicking in. "We're breaking this cycle," he proclaimed, staring into Isabelle's terrified, yet determined eyes. Together they turned toward the void, as a wave of energy pulsed through them. With a final roar, Thomas cried out, "No more shadows, no more lies." As the cliff crumbled into the abyss, he and Isabelle leaped forward, propelled by an energy of love and defiance. They made one last connection, skin against skin, hearts pounding together in synchronized desperation. And in that unearthly moment, in the whirlpool of chaos and fear, the shadows evaporated around them. They felt a shifting, a release. The world around them brightened, transforming into a serene landscape, the storm dispersing. Thomas found himself standing on solid ground, a lush field, stretching as far as the eye could see. The echoes of betrayal faded, leaving behind only the hum of newfound freedom. Isabelle's hand was still in his, warmth flooding through him. "Did we made it?" she whispered, disbelief mixed with hope. "I think we did," he replied, gazing at her, a sudden surge of determination lighting his eyes. But then, behind them, a shadow flickered, a figure emerging from the dissipating dust. "Thomas?" His mother's voice floated through the cool air. "This is just the beginning. You'll have to face it all, once again." Thomas nodded, heartbreak stitching tightly back together with purpose. "I will. Together we can take back our lives." In that moment, a spark ignited within him. The past no longer held them captive. It was a guide in the darkness. They stepped forward, ready to embrace whatever lay ahead, knowing they were stronger than the bonds of betrayal. As they moved toward the horizon, Thomas felt hope swelling. This was their moment. You have to subscribe right now. Don't miss any of the next exclusive stories. Hit that bell. Smash the like button right now to feed the algorithm. Flood the comment section with your thoughts and theories about the ending. We want to hear from you. And don't wait even one more second to share this with 5 friends who need to see how this ends. Show your support for the channel. Only real fans understand the importance of your actions.